Nobody teaches you this in school. You grow up learning math, history, and rules you'll barely remember. But no one teaches you this. How you treat yourself teaches others how to treat you. Think about it. Every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you over-explain, over-apologize, or laugh at something that actually hurts you, you're not just reacting, you're training people. Quietly, consistently, without even realizing it. Respect doesn't come from one big moment. It's not something you suddenly announce. It's built in small, ordinary actions. In how you respond. In what you tolerate. In the standards you keep for yourself. People who are truly respected don't beg for it. They show it through behavior. Here's the first truth. If you don't keep your word to yourself, nothing else matters. You've made promises before. I'll start tomorrow. I'll do better. I won't accept this again. But when you break those promises, something inside you weakens. Not loudly, but deeply. Because self-respect isn't built by what others see. It's built by what you do when no one is watching. And the way you treat your own promises becomes the standard the world follows. Your standards teach the world. The way you treat your own commitments becomes the standard for how you expect others to treat you. When you keep abandoning what you promised yourself, when you let yourself down again and again, you're not just forming a habit of inconsistency. You're conditioning your mind to believe your word doesn't really matter. And that belief doesn't stay inside you. It shows up, not in some mysterious way, but in the most ordinary one. People watch what you do. They notice when your actions and your words don't match, when what you say and what you live feel disconnected. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus understood this deeply. Self-mastery isn't about discipline for appearance. It's about becoming someone whose inner world matches their outer one. A person whose yes means yes, and whose no means no, starting with the promises they make when no one is watching. So when you follow through on something small, the run you said you'd take, the conversation you avoided, the boundary you decided to hold, you're not just finishing a task, you're building proof. Proof that you are someone who can be trusted, first by yourself, and almost automatically by others. So keep your word to yourself first. It sounds simple, but it's the foundation everything else stands on. Break it quietly, and everything weakens. Honor it quietly, and something inside you and around you becomes unshakable. Behavior 2. You don't over-explain. Pay attention the next time you say no. Notice what happens after. Most people don't stop at one sentence. They give a reason, then another reason, then an apology wrapped around both, and then reassurance, just to prove they're still a good person. By the end, the no is buried so deep under explanations that it almost disappears. Over-explaining is one of the most common ways people signal. They don't fully trust their own decisions. It looks like communication, but underneath, it's a search for approval. And people can feel that, maybe not consciously, but they notice it. Because when you over-explain, you're silently saying, "My decision needs your permission." When you over-explain, you're quietly saying that your answer needs their approval in order to feel valid. And in doing that, you hand over a small piece of power. Power over your choices. Over time, people begin to expect that power. There's a concept in Japanese culture called ma, Japanese concept. It's the art of intentional space, what is left unsaid. And it captures something modern culture often ignores: silence, brevity, the sharp clarity of a complete sentence. These things carry authority. They signal that your decision was made with certainty and doesn't need to be defended. This doesn't mean becoming cold. It doesn't mean giving one-word replies and walking away. Warmth and brevity can exist together beautifully. I won't be able to make it, but I hope it goes well. That's complete. It's kind. It's enough. Not adding 10 extra sentences isn't rude. It's self-respect, spoken quietly. Start noticing where you tend to over-explain. You'll usually find it in the places where you don't fully trust yourself yet, where you feel like you need to justify your worth. That's the real work. Not creating better explanations, but needing fewer of them. Because when you trust your own decisions, explanations become optional, and the people around you begin to trust them too. Behavior 3. You let discomfort exist without rushing to fix it. Most people are deeply uncomfortable with unresolved moments. A silence appears in conversation, and they rush to fill it. Someone seems upset, and they immediately try to smooth it over. Tension arises, and they move quickly toward resolution, not because things are truly resolved, but because waiting feels unbearable. So they start patching things. They apologize when they're not wrong. They soften truths that needed to be heard. They chase the feeling of everything being okay instead of the reality of it. And without realizing it, they teach the people around them something important. When you constantly rush to ease tension, you teach people something. That discomfort will always be removed quickly, no matter who created it. But learning to sit with discomfort, without rushing to fix it, absorb it, or make it disappear, is one of the quietest forms of self-respect you can practice. To yourself, it says, I trust this moment enough to let it exist as it is. I'm not so fragile that every sharp edge needs to be softened before I can breathe. The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius spoke about this discipline. Not acting out of anxiety, but responding only to what truly requires a response. Not everything that feels urgent actually is, and discomfort almost always falls into that category. It feels urgent, but it rarely is. When you stop automatically trying to smooth every tense moment, something begins to change in your relationships. People start to understand that the space between you won't always bend just because things feel heavy. They realize your calm is real, not an act, not something fragile waiting to crack. They see that you can hold difficult moments without collapsing under them. That's not toughness for show. That's steadiness, a quiet signal that says, I can face discomfort without needing to escape it. And the people who notice that, and they will, begin to treat you differently. Behavior 4. You receive compliments without deflecting. Someone tells you that you did something well, and before they even finish speaking, you're already brushing it off. Oh, it was nothing. Anyone could have done it. I almost messed it up, to be honest. You laugh it away. You redirect the attention. You make yourself smaller than the moment they tried to give you. It feels like humility, but it's not. Or at least, not entirely. More often, deflecting a compliment is a quiet rejection of the person offering it, as if their perspective can't be trusted, as if their appreciation is somehow wrong, as if their positive experience of you is a mistake. And underneath that, there's something deeper, something harder to admit, a belief that accepting something good, gracefully, is somehow risky. That agreeing with someone who sees value in you might expose you. That agreeing with someone who recognizes your worth is somehow arrogance. But here's what most people never tell you. The way you receive a compliment reveals how you truly see yourself, and how you see yourself is what others begin to reflect back to you. If you constantly dismiss their appreciation, slowly, subtly, they begin to question it too. Receiving well is a skill. It's not about becoming someone who shows off or seeks attention. It's about learning to let the moment settle. Thank you. That means a lot. And then you stop. No deflection. No self-criticism. No quick shift away from the moment. Just a simple, open acceptance. A few quiet seconds where you allow yourself to be seen as capable, as worthy, as good, without pulling away from it. The writer Maya Angelou understood this deeply. The way we present ourselves to others shapes how they come to see us. When you receive appreciation with calm and grace, you reinforce something real, that you are someone who belongs in moments of praise, not only in moments of apology. Let people see you as someone who is worthy of being admired, because you are. Behavior 5. You stop shrinking in rooms. You already know what it looks like to shrink. You've done it. Almost everyone has. It's sitting at the edge of the table. Instead of taking your place fully, it's lowering your voice mid-sentence, because suddenly you're unsure if your words deserve to be heard. It's apologizing in advance, just for existing in the space, before anyone has even suggested you shouldn't be there. It's making yourself smaller, physically, verbally, energetically, as a kind of social safety strategy. A quiet way of saying, before anyone else can, I won't take more than I'm given. But here's the problem. People usually give you exactly as much as you claim. Your body language is a language. And like any language, it communicates, whether you mean it to or not. When you enter a room, carrying the feeling that you don't fully belong there, the room often agrees, not out of cruelty, but because it's following your lead. Through every tightened posture, every hesitant movement, every apologetic gesture, you've already told them what to believe about you. And they believe it. Stopping this isn't about becoming loud or pretending to be confident when you're not. That kind of overcorrection feels like insecurity, just expressed more loudly. People who are genuinely respected do something simpler. They walk in, they sit down, they speak in their natural voice. They allow their presence to exist without trying to shrink it or edit it down. The Stoic thinker Seneca wrote about this. The importance of simply being, of not constantly performing yourself for the approval of others. There's something deeply freeing in that. To stop negotiating your right to exist in a space, to arrive and just let yourself be there. The room doesn't need your apology for your presence. The conversation doesn't require you to shrink before anyone asks you to. Take up the space that is already yours. It was never meant to be taken away from you. Behavior 6. You end what has already ended. Some things are over, long before we actually let them go. A friendship that continues only out of habit and shared history. A role you've already outgrown, but still keep showing up to perform. A relationship that has already drained itself empty somewhere along the way. And yet, you're still there, still maintaining it, still playing your role in it, still holding on to what's no longer real, as if the remains of it owe you something for your patience. But holding on to what has already ended isn't loyalty. It's a quiet form of abandoning yourself, and it teaches the people in your life, and even those watching from a distance, that you will stay longer than you should, that your presence isn't something to be valued, but something to be expected, that you don't walk away. Because walking away requires a level of self-respect you haven't fully stepped into yet. There is a kind of courage in ending things cleanly, Not loudly, not dramatically. You don't need to destroy anything or make a grand exit. The most powerful endings are often quiet, a conversation that becomes shorter over time, a presence that slowly pulls back, a decision made internally, without announcement. This is no longer mine to carry. When you begin to release what no longer serves you, truly release it, not just think about it. You send a message about your worth. You show that your time, your energy, your emotional investment are not unlimited. They are limited. They are valuable. And they are meant to be given, where they are genuinely received. The people who remain after that shift, the ones who stay within the space you've chosen to keep. Meet a version of you that has more to give, because you're no longer draining yourself into what leads nowhere. So end what has already ended, not with bitterness, not with noise, but with the quiet dignity of someone who finally understands. Their presence deserves to be somewhere it matters. Behavior 7. You respond, you don't react. Someone says something that hits a nerve. You feel it instantly. Your heartbeat rises. Your thoughts sharpen. Every part of you wants to respond immediately, to match their tone, to defend yourself, to correct them, to make sure they understand exactly how you feel. That impulse is human. Almost everyone feels it. But acting on it every time is one of the quietest ways you give your power away. Reacting is automatic. It says, whatever just happened controls me right now. Responding is intentional. It says, I hear you, but I choose how I engage. The difference might look small. Just a breath, a pause, a single moment where you don't rush to speak. But that pause is powerful. It's the space where your thinking mind catches up with your emotional reaction, where the thoughtful version of you arrives before the impulsive one takes over, before decisions are made that you might regret later. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus built much of his philosophy around this space, the gap between what happens and how you choose to respond, because in that gap lives your freedom, and in that same space, your character is formed. This is where your worth is practiced. Most people never reach this space because they're always moving too fast. They react, then try to explain the reaction, and sometimes regret both. But when you choose to respond with awareness, when you pause, when you select your words with even a small amount of intention, you project something that cannot be faked: self-possession. And self-possession is magnetic. It naturally attracts respect. Not because it's performed, but because it's real. People trust those who aren't shaken by every passing moment. You won't always get it right. There will still be times when you react. But the practice, returning again and again to that small pause, that's where your worth is quietly built, and where others begin to recognize it. 7 behaviors, none of them dramatic, none of them requiring you to become someone new. And that's what makes this both difficult and hopeful. There's no single breakthrough moment, no grand transformation overnight, no morning where you wake up and suddenly become different. Change doesn't work like that. It's quieter, slower, but once it begins, it lasts far longer than anything sudden ever could, because this isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more fully yourself, the version of you who keeps their word, who speaks without unnecessary apology, who can sit in discomfort without breaking, who receives appreciation with grace, who takes up space without shrinking, who lets go of what is already over, and who chooses response over reaction. That person doesn't need to announce who they are. They don't need to prove it. Because across all these behaviors, that is what real worth looks like. When it is lived, not performed. It's not loud. It's not a label. It's a quiet, consistent pattern of actions that says, without ever needing to say it out loud, I know what I bring. I know what I deserve. And I will treat myself accordingly until the world begins to do the same. And here's the truth about that part. You cannot control how others behave. You cannot force them to value you. But you can make it impossible for them to believe that you don't value yourself when your actions stay consistent. Long enough, the message becomes undeniable. So start with one, not all 7, just one. Practice it intentionally until it becomes part of who you are. Because the truth is, you've been teaching people your worth all along. The only question now is, what lesson will you choose to teach next? If something in this stayed with you, if something inside you shifted, even slightly, don't ignore that. Type, I know my worth. Not for anyone else, for yourself. No explanation needed. And if you're ready to move differently, think differently. Carry yourself with quiet power. Stay here, because this is not just a video. It's the beginning of a different standard, a different presence, a different life. Until next time, walk steady,